You know, I was gonna make a video on the Diddy Cannon. If you don't know what the Diddy Cannon is, it's good old uh good old graviton spike. The problem about this, I played 3 games with this thing. In every single game I ended up getting the sprint bug, so I kind of got annoyed and just stopped playing. But I'll roll the background gameplay, and I want to talk about something different. Today, I want to talk about the Destiny 2 community. I actually really do enjoy engaging with this from time to time. So, people do need some lore drop here because I've been in the game for a while. I've seen all sides of the people, from the casuals to the extreme to the funny people to the really like what are you even doing people, right? I like speaking my mind. I like engaging with people who disagree with me. That's just something I like to do. But something I have noticed a lot is that it's not always about disagreeing with people. It goes more towards people either being insecure, jealous, or just want to be a shit talker, which is okay. It's the internet. You should kind of realize this at some point. But I tapped into a community that I have yet been engaged in, the PvE community, right? I've been, hooping around the PvP community for a while, and I've met some interesting fellas. People who obsess over my stats like nothing else. You have one fella. I'll play a clip of someone who really loves me.
I'm like, wow, that person is fucking useless and pathetic. Like, I swear to God, when these slugs are nerfed, if they ever get nerfed, but if they do, these people are gonna have fucking Nicho aim.
Um, it's supposed to be pronounced Nico, right? Oh, dude, I want to mention something. I think this is hilarious. So he has a Discord server, the guy, the freak we just listened to, right? And every time, from time to time, I just type my own name to see how many times be spoken about me, and it's up in the hundreds of times. It's crazy. And the sad part is, they usually never have anything good to say. So it's kind of like an echo chamber of toxicity, most of the time. But everyone have their good sides and everyone have their bad sides. It's like, how many times do you see people talk shit about Grenadier Jake for just doing his own thing? Of course, that does not mean everyone's a saint. And I hope you're not. But it's just like crazy to me. Anyway, back to the video. And now that I'm into PvE, it seems like people don't realize what a weekend is at all, right? Since most people are wondering how I'm 400, but taking away the fact that people spend 30 hours in a raid this weekend. So, to understand, I have cleared Encore around 100 times this season, which is about how many times you should need to. The problem is they removed Encore, so you can't even farm for it anymore. And not just that, you like they nerfed the drops. I wasn't lucky. I was really far behind when Friday came around. Everyone was around 350, and I was really far behind. So, me and my friend decided to farm a lot of Encore when everyone was playing the raid. And, out of curiosity, yes, that's how I got to 400. I spent my weekend in the hot summer, yeah, inside, instead of dying from a heat stroke. But, it's important to spend your time outside too, because even though I'm pale as the moonlight, the sun is good for you. Get your vitamins up, not your funnies up. But I actually do have some actual questions from this video, which I do enjoy. I enjoy people who actually are wondering on stuff, and I'll explain some things to you. So, I like this one. What you do after 400 is uninstall the game. I get the joke, but you can't really. What's the point of getting to 400 if you're just gonna uninstall afterwards? I've said this in last video too. I got to 400 so I could start build crafting. I made a half decent setup for PvE. It has a lot of hundreds, since you don't really need to go past that most of the time. And it's mainly so I can have my abilities up even more. And what you can do is put on mods like Super Font and all the other font mods, and this is plus 40. So now whenever I have the armor charge, I have 140 super. And this works for all of them. Normally I was running one grenade, no, melee, my bad, and then of course the heavy-handed, so I can get my fonts up at all times. It's really good, and I really enjoy playing with a setup like this. It makes the game a little bit more enjoying. I did see some people comment on how I talk. My native language is not English, so if I stutter, um, speak in a broken English way, that's probably the reason why. Um, since the only reason I speak so much English is because of me talking on like to myself in an empty room, so people can listen to that. Isn't that kind of weird to think about? Um, this is a good one. The devs didn't anticipate people being 400 already. I'm sure there will be more ways to grind up by the time the majority of the active player base gets to Master and Grandmaster. I definitely agree with this. They did say they anticipated people to take 30 days to even get there. And I did say some small, silly mistakes last video, like the season ended in approximately 48 days. And the only reason I thought that was because of the reward pass. The reward pass changes throughout the season, or increases, updates, whatever you want to say. I don't actually know. And it's in 131 days when the next major update comes out. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit. And someone did clarify Arms Week is next week, and then you have Solstice, which is the week after. So thank you for those people who are saying this. And of course, I don't read twabs. I haven't been playing the game for like the last 3 months. And I just started playing again now this DLC drop, and I enjoy playing new stuff. Now, Encore isn't necessarily new stuff, but I want access to new stuff, so I have been farming and farming and farming. I feel like most PvP players can set themselves in this mindset easier than a PvE player, since PvP players don't play much PvE to begin with. So once you do... Also, I've been a huge Diablo fan. This is not extreme. Destiny 2 is still casual compared to games like those. The reason I quit Diablo is simply because of the same system Destiny 2 is implementing, where it resets every season. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed Diablo 4, and I think Diablo 4 was more enjoyable than this update. But when Season 1 dropped, I kinda didn't care that much about playing and farming and doing the same thing over and over. This guy's giving good advice. Go outside. I agree, man. It's good to enjoy the weather. And something that's making me a little bit excited is that this person, giving me great info, in an interview with Robbie, a dev from Destiny 2, he mentioned things like Crucible rank and power and performance affects the kind of gear you'll earn. An example, he said being around 400 and Ascendant or a Flawless card could get you tier 4, tier 5 loot. So with that, I'm assuming that, or I'm hoping that whenever Trials comes out this weekend, I'll be able to farm a ton of good gear, and that's what I'm hoping for, since it's around 400. And by the looks of it, I can increase my power even more, so I did missay some things. The problem is they can only get from certain engrams that drop every once in a blue moon, so the power leveling once you reach 400 is incredibly slow and tedious. I was able to get a single drop from playing, I think, 6 PvP games, but I haven't seen anything else in any other activity, and that's how my no-land is 406. It's a little bit unfortunate, which is a +2 engram, by the way, from my actual... +3. I'm 403 at tops. If I swap my gear here. This is my highest power. Can't get any further at the moment. I literally just need one item in one slot, and then my power will increase, since I am 6 out of 7. This guy calling out there's a lot of other games. I know, I do enjoy playing other games. I love Valorant, it's fun, but I play it very casually, so it's not like I'm trying to push for higher ranks like Ascendant or Immortal. But games like Diablo, like I mentioned, is really fun. I am a big Tarkov fan, and yes, you should try out other games in D2 too. I've been playing mostly Minecraft for the last 3 months, if I've been playing anything at all, since Destiny 2 has been through the ringer. And I enjoy this update. It gives me something to do, which I didn't feel like before the update. Then again, I hit a hard point, which most people will do. Of course, me farming something efficiently does not mean that I am trying to just get everything out of the way. I want to be able to get good gear and play PvP. That's my whole job. That's my whole point of even farming PvE to begin with. I've been enjoying the raid. The raid is actually really cool. I like the final encounter a lot. It's really easy, and something that is really unique about this raid for the first time is that once you complete the raid once, you can essentially just do the final encounter over and over, since you can just start the final boss. And I saw a picture on Twitter where someone had 100 clears already, so people are definitely taking advantage of that. And I like the new system for the raid, and the fact that we're getting a new encounter for the raid actually excites me a little bit. The mechanics themselves, in my opinion, aren't that complicated. They're very easy and simple. The main thing I've noticed is that people are struggling to stay alive and just dying to silly things. But overall, the raid is really fun, really enjoyable, but I'm not the biggest fan over the fact that the most efficient way to damage is like T-Lord. Someone did say it's not stuck to grenade, my tier 4 armor, right? Because I got only grenade pieces so far. It's just I was very unlucky. So, tier 5 armor is RNG on which split you get on top of the second stat split. So it's like a 1 in 100 chance 1 in a billion chance you get the perfect armor piece that you're looking for. On top of it being limited to the 6 different trees, gunner, and all the other ones, like the armor mods here. Again, this mod does not work at all, so there's no point in even caring for it. I do see a lot of people struggling, saying they're stuck around the 250 mark. Look, all you really need to do to increase your power, look, they did remove the activity that rewarded you the most, so you need to keep that in mind. I took advantage of the system because I kind of realized, even if they didn't disable Encore, them nerfing the scout would be enough to slow people down. Of course, when I started farming, which was around the same time runs, I was doing no land with a rocket. Depending on who was running, since you have forced lockouts. We would just have one person running, and then we would I'll play a run in the background so you can see how we were doing it. But I didn't find it that bad. I was kind of just watching stuff on the side while chatting with friends. We were just watching the raid race and having good laughs. So it wasn't as awful as you might imagine it being. A lot of people do say that they don't care since you're getting back to 200 renegades, and that's kind of the reason I didn't like the system in Diablo. But people need to this is the thing I've noticed: the trend seems to shift more towards resetting people throughout seasons. That's how a lot of games are starting to do it, and I think this came from the original wipe system that extraction shooters have. Quote me if I'm wrong, but that's at least where I started noticing it first. If you don't know, let's give the example Tarkov. Tarkov has a system wherever a new wipe starts, season, it resets you to complete 0, starts you completely fresh, and you just play the game like you have nothing, never played it, never touched it, and your account is essentially reset to 0. I like that system because they do amazing rework, used to do a lot of reworks throughout every season, making them completely different and unique. So if Bungie can keep doing that, then sure, the system will work well, but you also need to make sure that people do engage in the system and don't really just ignore it completely, because then it's just flawed, and you clearly didn't get the player base that you were looking for. Someone says the problem is your power level is meaningless since you're just going to be at minus 50 delta the whole time, so be 250 or 450. This is actually true. In a lot of activities, you are forced under power, like with the Conquest. But see, the Conquest has a problem. My power do matter because I simply can't even access the activity without being high enough power. And these are the two most rewarding activities in the whole game. Sadly, you can only complete them once. So, by that fact, the new GM system is a little bit disappointing in my opinion. I wish GMs were farmable like they have in the past, and giving me the option to farm for tier 5, even if it's a little bit early, is completely fine to me, because, like I explained, tier 5 is so unbelievably rare to get the piece you're after. Sure, it's a 75 piece with either any of the stats as the focus. So, the mod tuning is either grenade, health, melee, super, class, or weapons. On top of them, having the 6 different archetypes. So, if you want the archetype you're looking for, like let's say gunner with the weapons one. You want a gunner with weapons. you're gonna have to get really lucky to get one of those. With the fact that it's not really easy for anyone to get their hands on tier 5, even for the people who are the highest power, is a little bit frustrating. And which is why I'm hoping they give us more options in the future to be able to obtain those. This guy got a valid point. The only thing you should do after hitting 400 tier 5 gear is touch grass. Valid point. The grass is green this time around the year, so use that time well, fellas. A great question. Did you sleep at all this week? Yes, I have. I've been getting good sleep actually. Between, I would say, 6 to 8 hours, like most people would. And I feel great. After reaching 300, I'm bored and I'm a hardcore player. No, this is a valid point. If I wasn't hanging out with people, watching funny stuff and enjoying my time with other fellas, I wouldn't really care that much. I don't think I would actually push through as much as I did. I did, though, end up doing Fireteam Finder, and there are some crazy freaks on Fireteam Finder from what I've noticed. This person, I think you're downplaying tier 5 armor. You're not forced into tuning grenade, melee, etc. You can use the balance tuning to bump up each stat for no downside. This is true. You can get a +3 increase on all stats, but is that really worth it? Of course, if you have, let's say, 4 pieces of tier 5, you do get +4 for each armor piece. But I don't really think it's that valuable because it's so minimal. Of course, now, this is a thing you need to remember. The new system is great because every single decimal, every single point does actually do something up to 200. And that's something that didn't happen in the past. It was kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you just add the 0 behind there. So that was the only one that would give you benefits. So this system is a little bit better in that sense. And yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't have to. I can just put on the extra stats. So you can get 103 at most. I'm not gonna lie, this is super unemployed / virgin activity, bro. Like 400 already because you spent hours grinding Encore. You can't complain. You don't have much to do in terms of leveling. Well, from what this guy is gathering, I'm just complaining. It's more of a criticism towards how I think the system is more flawed than structural. I think Bungie's going for something that would honestly be better than not, but you have to do it at a larger scale and you have to do it perfectly. Because when something doesn't go well, of course people are not going to be too happy about it. The system doesn't work correctly. For example, you're limited in options, which, you weren't in the past. Even with the old system, you could still mostly get whatever you would want. Of course, you were forced with 2 stat trees on one side and 1 on the other, and you had 2 separate trees. If you didn't know, you had mobility, resilience, and recovery, and then you had strength, intellect, and discipline, right? So it doesn't work the same way, and it feels more limiting now to which stat trees you can get because you are limited. Bro, have you eaten and slept since the game launched? Yes, I have. I've been eating a lot of ice cream because I'm fat and I'm a greedy pig. No, it's really hot, so to keep my cool up, I've been eating a fuck ton of ice cream. Don't do that, by the way. That's not good for you. This guy's making a good point. Wait, so we can only run the activity once a week. I don't mind that only one pinnacle power drop a week because that's what it used to be like. But what happened to being able to play an activity as many times as we want? Well, I think a good way to compare the current system of Conquest is not by calling it the pinnacle drop once a week. These are the new GMs. This is like what we used to have as a GM Nightfall. These 6 missions right here. And supposedly they're going to change and rotate throughout the season. But being able to do a GM once, and I don't even know if it's capped to weekly because no one was able to do it last week, is a little bit frustrating. If it's only once a season, then, we have a problem. But, yes, currently, you can only do it once a week, from my knowledge. At 400 with all those... Oh, right. Okay, so I need to explain something. The reason my stat armor and everything was looking really horrible last video was because I just had put on my highest armor. That was the whole point. I didn't even optimize it. And if I do, like you see, my stats look a little bit better. And that's the thing. I've just been collecting tier 4 gear, and now I can actually start making something work with it. That's the whole spirit in this. They said Ultimate will come out until Ash and Iron update. I'm assuming Ash and Iron is when this part drops. So Ash and Iron will feature Ultimate, which is in 131 days, meaning we won't be able to get tier 5 stuff effectively until then, because we won't be able to increase our difficulty, which might be a problem. You do have the option and very small chances of getting tier 5. It doesn't say that anywhere, but I have seen reports and players seeing drops that are tier 5 from Grandmaster difficulties. Now, I don't know what score you need to achieve to get this, but I thought I thought A grade was the cap. So, I am assuming there's just some things going on in the background that they don't tell us in game. Okay, I can value this. So, I can explain this one. I'm the only one who can see the ultimate tier. So, the way you can unlock the ultimate tier is by completing the training missions essentially. I'll find it here. It will show up once you complete the training missions, which I haven't done since I didn't really need to. But once you complete the training missions, you will have the ultimate tier unlocked, and it will say power level required 451, 451. And since the 450 is cap right now, it kind of confirms that you can't access it until Ash and Irons, since they're also increasing our power to 550. I have noticed a lot of people thinking that I'm delusional, or like this guy is explaining, not even the biggest streamers are 400 yet. You are a very small group of people shouting into the void. I think, to me personally, this doesn't really make sense because I'm not trying to come as. I'm just trying to give like a criticism to my understanding of how the game works, right? Which is why I am saying mistakes. And since I haven't been reading TWABs or not been in the loop for the game for the last 3 months, I'm just explaining on how I'm experiencing the game as I'm progressing throughout it. And of course, I'm ahead of most people. I understand this. But that doesn't make me into some crazy delusional freak like some people are trying to put it as. I understand it's the internet. You can say whatever the fuck you want. That's what I love about the internet. And I don't know. I think I'm just rage baiting people for breathing. I've seen it everywhere, man. It's so funny. You need to understand. Criticizing does not mean that I hate the game. Criticizing just means I want to see improvements in what I think is flawed. And it's very healthy to do so. I think it's better to listen to what someone has to say than to just completely deny him of that option. Because a lot of people want to do that. They think they are the only right people. And not once have I said, I am right, you are wrong, listen to what I have to say. But since you're watching a video of some guy talking about it, you just assume that automatically. And for some people, that's just how they want to live. That's okay. Everything you see on the internet is how it has to be. But no, I think it's important to, if you want to talk shit, it's important to see the misinformation and misleading parts of this video and call me out on it. It would be way more entertaining for me to engage with you instead of you just calling me shit and then I can rage bait you into calling me more shit. It's like, I don't see the point, and I think it's very unhealthy, especially for the person who is the pissed person, right? To me, your words have enough value as a P. I don't really care what you have to say unless you bring value to what you have to say. And I think that's important for most people to keep in mind. If you don't agree with me, I don't have any value to anything you care for. Why care at all, right? Of course, some people do like to live on this hierarchy that thinking they are the better person, because of course everyone is not the same person. A valuable thing for the Destiny 2 community is thinking you're not better than someone else, first of all. You are only making yourself feel better than other people because that's what you think. So, if you are that person and, sprint around, say bullshit, call people, whatever you want, then maybe instead of calling them delusional, maybe you might be the one. Maybe you should take some time off Twitter. Maybe you should not watch as many YouTube videos. Maybe take some time from social media and take a break. It's very healthy. I did it and I honestly feel way greater now than I used to. Engaging with people constantly online makes you miserable and, honestly, I would say, very, very unhappy. And that's okay. But I hope people who are miserable figure it out. And if you don't have anything good to say, I simply won't listen at all. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I brought some valuable conversations to spark up in the comments. And, of course, king of unemployment, Nico, like my goat said.